Hello, good afternoon all. Welcome back to you all. I hope each and everyone are doing good. So let's start the session. In the yesterday session, we have discussed about the sexual reproduction of flowering plants. In that, we have discussed some completed the male gametophyte and female gametophyte also we have completed in the yesterday session. So now the male gametophyte is ready and female gametophyte is ready. Both of them they are ready now. So the thing is now we need to make them together so that the fertilization has to be taken place. So in the last session what we have discussed is female gametophyte formation, that is embryo sac is completed. So embryo sac is nothing but the female gametophyte and the male gametophyte is nothing but the pollen grain. So both pollen grain is ready and the female gametophyte embryo sac is ready. So now we need to bring them together because they don't have any motile structure. Motile structure is not there. So when there is no possibility of movement, the pollen grain cannot work, or the female gametophyte also cannot show movements there. So due to that, we need to bring them together with the help of some mediums there. So that is nothing but the pollination. So pollination is nothing but it is the transfer of gametes or the transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma of flower of same plant or of different plant also. So anther to the stigma of the same flower or flower of same plant or of different plant of same species. We call this process we call this as pollination. The process of transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of the same flower or of a different flower of the same plant or of a different plant of the same species. So don't get confused that I am using same different plant, flower, species and all. So I will give a clarity later. So it is nothing but the pollination. So in that pollination, there are of three types based on the source of pollen grain, where it is coming from. So based on the source of pollen grain, so there is three different types are there based on source of pollen grain. So there are of three different types are there. The three different types are there. We will be seeing based on the source of pollen grain. There are three different types. One is self-pollination, and the another one is cross pollination, and the another one is geitonogamy. So there, so one is self pollination, we call them as autogamy. We call it as autogamy. And there is another one is there geitonogamy or geitonogamy. And the another one is xenogamy. So there are three different types based on the source of pollen grain from where it is coming, or the pollen grain is coming of the same flower, or the pollen grain is coming of the different flower of the same plant. So based on that, there are of three types we will be seeing. Here autogamy is nothing but, so let me draw the structure. So here autogamy is nothing but sigma, so it is the female reproductive structure, this is male reproductive structure. So from this pollen gland, so there is a flower. So now there are three different types out there based on the source of pollen grain. Based on the source of pollen grain, you need to remember here it is based on source of pollen grain. Based on the source of pollen grain, it is of three different types. Now I will explain. You just listen, you will get to understand easily. So now the pollen grains are coming from same flower. So the pollen grains are coming from the same flower of the see here the transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma. So the transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of the same flower of the same plant of the same species, it is autogamy. Geitonogamy means it is wait wait a minute, give me 2 minutes. So now listen here. So in the first case, the transfer of pollen grain from anther to the stigma of the same flower of the same plant, it is taking place, that we call it as autogamy. Here auto is nothing but what? Self. So autogamy is also called as self pollination. Self pollination. Here geitonogamy is there, or jitinogamy, or whatever you call this. Geitonogamy is there. The transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of flower A to flower B. So from anther to the stigma of flower A to B, it is taking place of the same plant. So geitonogamy is nothing but it is the transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of the same plant of different flowers. So it will be taking place. So here xenogamy means, so it is also hibiscus flower, it is also hibiscus flower of same species. The transfer of pollen grain from anther to the stigma of different plant, here a different plant of the same species. If it is hibiscus means even this plant should be a hibiscus plant. If it is a rose plant, even it is also should be a rose plant of the same species. You know about this one. In 11th standard, you have learned the concept of biological concept of species in living world chapter. So here the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the different plant of the same species, it will be taking place. This we call it as xenogamy, cross pollination. So we'll discuss one by one now. So what are the specification here is, so in case of this one, in case of self-pollination, the features which are required, so to undergo self-pollination, proper self-pollination, if the flower is there, if the pollen grains are stigma is there, that is not enough to get self-pollination is there. Even self-pollination is rather there, they have given autogamy is rather there, rather rare condition. Means what it takes to undergo self-pollination, what are the requirements, what are the things need to be there in case of plants to undergo self-pollination is, one is, so the flower should be closed, the anther and stigma, this anther and stigma, they should get matured at the same time. The synchronous synchrony of the time of maturation of this both male and female reproductive structure should be uh, together. The synchrony of sigma receptivity, synchrony of stigma receptivity. Stigma means here female reproductive structure, stigma receptivity, and release of pollen grain. So it should occur at the same time there. The synchrony of stigma receptivity and release of pollen grain should take place at the same time. That is the one condition. If it has to undergo self pollination means this it has to follow there. The release of pollen grains at the same time and the stigma receptivity, and both this anther and stigma should be closed together there. So this both male and female reproductive structure, they should be closed. Means there should not be any barrier in between them, and they should be present close together, male and female reproductive structure. That is the another condition which is required for self pollination. Self pollination means is nothing but a self. Auto means self, gamy means marriage or reproduction in terms of Greek there. Greek word gamy, gammas, autogamous flower. Autogamous flower is nothing but self pollinated flower. So here there is no involvement of any other flower or any other different plant. It is of the same plant, same flower. Within that it will be taking place. That is the autogamous. And coming to this geitonogamy or geitonogamy or geitonogamy. So here coming to this geitonogamy, the transfer of pollen grains is taking place from anther to the stigma of the same plant of a different flower, not within the same flower. It is within the same flower. The condition is it should be taking place within the same flower. But here, if you see here in case of this one, it is not within the same flower. It is of a different flower of the same plant. So here geitonogamy is nothing but the transfer of pollen grain from anther to the stigma of different flower. So I will write here. So of different flower of same plant. So that is nothing but geitonogamy. Here geitono is there, no? Geitono. This geitono refers to the neighbor. This geitono means neighbor here. Neighbor flower reproduction. This neighbor flower reproduction it will be undergoing, where the involvement of both A and B flower of the same plant it will be taking place. That we will be seeing in the geitonogamous flower. And there is a special thing is there. So even it is taking place, it is occurring in the same plant, isn't it? So when it is occurring in the same plant, so it is kind of self-pollination, but it is not genetically, it is a self-pollination, but functionally it is a cross-pollination. So you might be confusion that what is genetically and functionally. Let me clear that. Let me explain that clear. So here, this Gaetonogamous flower or Gaetonogamous plants, so it is functionally cross-pollination, but genetically it is a self-pollination. Here, functionally cross-pollination is nothing but they are involving, they should undergo, see, functionally means this is a different flower, this is of different flower of the same plant. So it is functionally cross-pollination. Functionally cross-pollination is nothing but, so to transfer pollen grains from flower A to B, there is a requirement of a pollinator there. Either it might be a wind or water, or it might be an insect or any animal. So there is a requirement of a pollinator here. The special thing about here is, so there is a requirement of pollinator. So pollinator is required in case of this one. So pollinator is required. Pollinator is required in case of this one because it is functionally cross pollination. Genetically self pollination because it is taking place within the same plant. So that is genetically self pollination. So different flower of the same plant, that is Gaetonogamy. It is like, you can understand, if the marriage is taking place within the same family of same relatives, then it is self pollination. Or Gaetonogamy is nothing but it is the neighbor marriage. The relatives will be, the marriage will be taking place within the neighbor. Means like some of them far relatives will be there, no? Some of them far relatives it will be taking place. Like the mother-in-law's daughter and all like that. So that will be nothing but Gaetonogamy. So there is another one we will be seeing here, xenogamy. Xenogamy is nothing but cross pollination. It is the proper cross pollination will be. Xenogamy is nothing but the transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of different plant. Here it is of different plant of the same species. Same species is nothing but if it is mango plant, even it should be a mango plant. So there will be no pollination will be taking. Pollination may take place, but the fertilization will not take place in between two different species there. So the species it is of the, so it is xenogamy is nothing but it is a cross pollination here, where it will be of the different plant of the same species will be taking place. That is xenogamy here. So the special thing about the xenogamy is nothing but it is pure cross pollination. So where it requires two different plant of the same species. That is the condition you need to remember. So two different plants of same species. And you just ask a question like the marriage is taking place between two different complete different region, geographical region families. So then the variations will be more genetically, the variations will be more there. So when you are selecting a breed of the different physiological geographical location, you will get more variations. No? So out of these three here, the autogamy, Gaetonogamy and xenogamy, which one do you think that the more variation will be taking place? More variations in the next generation? In which group of plants or in which group of flower we will be seeing more variation in the next generation? So there is self-pollination is there, autogamous flower, gytenogamous flower, and xenogamous flower. So just ask the question that which one would be very nice to get a proper uh, offspring which has got a lot of variations which are required for environmental adaptations in the next generation. So of course it will be xenogamous there or cross pollination. But if you see in case of this autogamous and gytenogamous, there will be not much variations are seen. There will be no much variations are seen. And in fact, if a plant is undergoing continuous self pollination, there is a chances of undergoing inbreeding depression. So about this we will be discussing in the next session. So based on the source of pollen grain, the pollination is of three types. One is autogamous, and gytenogamous or gytenogamy, and the third one is xenogamous. So next we will be seeing different plants here. Yes. So it is about the pollination. So I will take another slide here. So there are another type of flowers seen. It is not about the types of pollination. It is about the types of flowers we will be seeing in different group of plants there. So that is, so I am taking one here, which is Chasmogamous flower. Chasmogamous flower and Clistogamous flower. So Chasmogamous flower and Clistogamous flowers. There are two types of flowers are seen in case of some plants. So example for that is oxalis, oxalis, viola, or it is also called as common pansy, and there is one more plant that is Pomelina bengalensis. So these are the three plants where you will be seeing these two different types of flowers. So what is Clistogamous and what is Chasmogamous? You are getting a question there. So here in case of oxalis, viola and Pomelina plant, you will be seeing two different types of flowers there. That is, so here this normal flower. So it is, you can see here in this flower, in this plant, this is one type of flower. This is normal Chasmogamous flower. This is normal flower that we call it as Chasmogamous flower. Chasmogamous flower is nothing but these are open flowers. Means which is normal, like the one who opens, when the flower is blooming, it is opens and it is exposed to the air, no. So this is normal flower, that is chasmogamous flower, which is normal and open to, like it's like all flowers, normal flower. There is another flowers we will be seeing down the ground, that is clistogamous flower. Clistogamous flower. So here clisto means nothing but it is closed. So these are closed flowers. So always the flowers remain closed. Even after fertilization, before fertilization, it will be like in a bud stage, how the bud will be, no, closed with the petals, sepals and all. So like that, in case of clistogamous flower, the clisto is nothing but a closed ear. Chasmogamous is nothing but the open flower. So in clistogamous flower, in this examples of oxalis, viola and common commelina, so it produces two different flowers, that is one is chasmogamous flower and another one is clistogamous flower. In case of clistogamous flower, when it is closed, remain closed for all lifetime, if it is remain closed for lifetime, so within that the pollen grain transfer it will be taking place and the pollination will be taking place easily without any need of pollinator there. So the fertilization will be taking place easily in case of this one clistogamous flower. So there is no much requirement of pollinators there. So then what kind of flower it is, or what kind of pollination it will be taking place in case of clistogamous flower? You just think. The flower is remain closed for lifetime, then what kind of pollination will be taking place? In this types, there are three types, no? So in these three types, which kind of which one will be taking place in case of this clistogamous flower? So in case of this clistogamous flower, so even last before year 2021, they asked this question. Clistogamous flowers are invariably autogamous. Invariably autogamous, which is nothing but there is no chance of cross pollination there. Purely self pollination will be taking place. So these clistogamous flowers will be always undergoing self pollination there. So in your NCRT, they are asking one question there. You just need to think there whether these clistogamous flowers are advantageous or disadvantageous. If we just start questioning, you might be thinking like whether it is advantageous or harmful for the plant, disadvantageous. So you can connect, if you didn't see this oxalis, violina and commelina, you just can connect to the groundnut. In fact, the groundnut is not example for this clistogamous and chasmogamous flower. There the mechanism is totally different. Even it is like similar to like that. Even the groundnut flowers, it is blooming on the upside, like on the shoot system. You will be seeing the groundnut, the fruit groundnut, dry fruit of groundnut. You will be seeing in the root side, no? In the root side, groundnut or peanut. Then why? That's the different mechanism. But here you can see that the clistogamous flower, it is similar to like that, but it is different case. Here in clistogamous flower, invariably autogamous, and seed set is compulsory, seed set will be taking place. Seed set or the pollination is fixed here. So due to that, the seed will be formation will be fixed. So one advantage of this this clistogamous flower is there is no requirement. This is advantage for the plant. So no requirement of pollinators there. So no requirement of pollinators is there. Pollinators are not required because it is closed, no? When it is closed, it will be taking place, the pollination will be taking place within the same flower. And another one is disadvantage. When it is coming to the disadvantage, so there is a chances of inbreeding depression. There is a chance of inbreeding depression in case of this are seen. So it is positive. It is a negative here. So in case of Clistogamous flower. In case of Oxalis, Viola and Camelina, we will be seeing two different types of flowers in the same plant, that is Chasmogamous flower, which are open, which are normal like all the flowers. Clistogamous flowers are closed, which are invariably autogamous, where the self-pollination is taking place, and azure seed set means the seed formation, the formation of fruit, it is fixed there. And the next one is the positive of this one is no requirement of pollinator, so it can happily undergo pollination and fertilization. And the disadvantage is it may undergo inbreeding depression. The coming variety of the new generation, it may have some problems. In case of that plant, it may not live for longer. It may undergo some diseases and all. So that is nothing but inbreeding depression, we call this. So regarding this, we'll discuss in the next session. So it is about the Chasmogamous plant. So is there any questions? Let me check on this. Yes, there are many are there. We will discuss only 2-3 questions and we'll go further. So which of the following statement is true about autogamy in flowers? Just read the question and pick the mark of the appropriate question here. Which of the following statements is true about autogamy in flowers? It relies exclusively on wing for pollination. No, there is no requirement of wing there. Wrong, it is incorrect. So they are asking it true, no? It is a common phenomena in all flowers. So we'll read other also. We will keep this in optional. It requires synchronous release of pollen and stigma receptivity. So it is correct here. And we'll read the other statement also. It is more likely in flowers with brightly colored petals. So it is not requirement of this one because it is taking place within the flower. So option C will be answered. So here pollen release and stigma receptivity also takes place, and they should be lie close each other. So what is required for autogamy to occur in such flowers? So what are the requirements? One is synchrony in pollen release and stigma receptivity. We got the answer, but we'll read the other options also. It is very important to read all the options when you are attempting the NEET exam there. Just if you get the answer in the first, don't pick and don't go for the first option and leave these three to read that. You need to read because there are some more appropriate answer will be there in these three also. Cross pollination from another flower? No. Wind or animal pollination? No. Absence of pollen grains? No. So the option 1 will be the correct one. So which of the following plants produce two types of flowers? So their examples are given. Two types of flowers. I said no, two types of flowers are nothing but Chasmogamous and Clistogamous. And the examples are here, Viola is there, Oxalis is there, and Camelina is there. So that it will, the first one will be the option. First one will be the answer. So there is no other. Next, what is the term used to describe the type of flowers that do not open at all? So that do not open at all, they never open. That is, here it is given Clistogamous. Clisto is nothing but closed flower. So Chasmogamous are similar flowers there, which are we will be seeing another thing. So in Clistogamous flowers, where are the anther and stigma located? So inside the petals, close to each other, exposed to the environment, far, not far because they are close. Inside the petals, of course it will be inside the petals, but it is close to each other will be the answer here. Next. So why there is no chance of cross pollen landing to the stigma in a Clistogamous flower? So when they are remain close, so there is no chance of that one. The stigma is often no. The flowers are lack of petals, no. The flowers remain closed remaining. during pollination, the option will be that. Next. So what type of pollination is invariably associated with the clistogamous? So that I said no. In the last year PYQ they asked that. The two statements were given, and the second statement it carries the clistogamous flowers are invariably autogamous, that is self-pollination. Option C will be the answer. In clistogamous flower, what endures seed set? Azure seed set is there, even in the absence of pollinators, because of the self-pollination mechanism there. So no, that's not. Clistogamous flowers are produced azure seed set, means fixed. Due to the closing of flower, of course, self-pollination will take place. There is no requirement of cross-pollinators. When the pollination is taking place, fertilization takes place. When fertilization is taking place, seed formation will be pakka there. So what is the genetic similarity between geitonogamy and autogamy there? So they are asking genetic similarity between geitonogamy and autogamy. That both are of the same plant, it will be taking place. So they are completely genetically different, not. They are genetically, it is similar, no? They share genes from different plant species. Different plant species it seems. No. Because see, if you are taking a hibiscus plant and if it is getting fertilized with the mango plant, then what will be the result? So there is no requirement of this one. So there is no, it's incorrect. Genetically they are similar since pollens comes from the same plant. Yes, this will be the answer here. Same plant it will be, the options will be the correct. They have high degree of genetic variability. No, there is no genetic variations option. Next, what is the primary advantage of xenogamy in terms of plant reproduction? Primary advantage of xenogamy. Xenogamy is nothing but cross pollination. Genetically diverse offspring, genetically identical offspring, faster seed production, larger flower size. So all three are incorrect here. So the genetically diverse offspring. So when the flowers, the undergoing pollinations are of different locations, so it will be producing lot of variations. No, that variations is nothing but genetically diverse. Genetically diverse offsprings will be seen there. So next we will be seeing agents of pollination. So here agents of pollination is nothing but we know that the pollen grain is also not motile, and even the female gametophyte, that is embryocyte, is also not motile. So there are involvement of something medium of transfer is there. Pollination we know that, reaching out of that together we are knowing that it's the pollination. So who will be doing the pollination there? The plants cannot walk, they cannot show the locomotion. Plants show movement, but they cannot show the locomotion. No, they will not change, they will not displace from one place to other place. So to bring the pollination, there are some agents are there, agents of pollination we call that as. So that to bring the pollination, there are some agents are required. So there are of two types, it will be mainly the agents of pollination are of mainly two types you will be seeing. Mainly two types. Here, first one is abiotic type and second one is biotic type. It's the basic thing you might be knowing what is abiotic and biotic there. Abiotic is nothing but which is not living, which is not does not have life there. That is abiotic. Abiotic factors which are undergoing, which are helping the pollination are two are there. They are two. That is, one is wind and the another one is Yeah, another one is water. So these are abiotic. But in case of biotic, it is only one is there, that is animals. But comparatively, if you see here, abiotic and biotic factors, abiotic agents are there, biotic agents are there. Comparatively, in most of the angiosperms, abiotic, biotic agents will be high. Comparative to the abiotic and biotic, so biotic pollinators are in most of the angiosperms, so they will be undergoing pollination with the help of biotic, that is animals. Means the plants can believe in the living things only, that is of animals, which are favoring them in the pollination. So the most of the angiosperms will be showing biotic pollinate, they are dependent on the biotic agents there. So less comparative to that, abiotic are less. And even in abiotic, so wind pollinated plants or wind pollinated flowers are high. Compared to that, water pollinated flowers or water pollinated plants are less in that abiotic wind and water way. So now we know that the agents of pollination are of two types mainly. One is abiotic and the another one is biotic. So here it is abiotic here and the another one is biotic. So in abiotic again two types are there, that is wind pollinated, and the water pollinated. So here wind pollinated means how the flowers will be and how the plants will be. So we need to discuss the feature of wind pollinated flowers, and we need to discuss water pollinated flowers and biotic there. So first we'll go one by one now. Here in case of wind pollinated flowers, so how the flowers will be. So here wind pollinated flowers, they will produce more pollen grains. They will produce more pollen grains because the chance factor of getting pollinated is very less in case of wind, because think that there is somewhere one wheat plant is growing, not in crop, separately it is growing isolated, and somewhere another wheat plant is there of 2 kilometers away. So the wind has to carry, so it has to carry the pollen grains there. But somewhere it is there to get pollinated there, it has to produce more pollen grain, because somewhere if it has to reach that plant, if it is present in somewhere like far, it has to produce more pollen grains. The chance factor of getting pollinated is very less in case of that. So that's why the wind pollinated flowers or wind pollinated plants, they will be producing more pollen grain. Okay. And here the flowers, so why they are even it is very important in PYQ they asked this. So, this is the, we know that the wind pollinated flowers or wind pollinated plants, they will produce more pollen grains. They will give assertion here of this statement and reasoning that they will give the chance factor of getting combination or the chance factor of combining male gamete to the fusing or getting pollinated to the female flower is less. The chance factor of pollination in case of this is less. In case if it is present that in the reasoning, so both are true and reason will be explaining assertion there. So it is important to note that. to produce more pollen grains due to the chance factor of pollination is less. That's why it is like that. And next is the flower, how the flower will be in case of wind pollination. So the flower in case of wind pollination, it will be, flower will be exposed. Flower is, even if it is present in small, it will be present in inflorescence. Inflorescence is nothing but the arrangement of flowers, and the floral axis are stem axis. The arrangement of flowers at the same means if it is there, so all the flowers are present on this. So this is nothing but inflorescence there. So here the flowers are produced on inflorescence. So you might have seen the plants like jowar plant is there, or bajra. Even though like the all the flowers it will be present on that ear there, no? So that is that flower produced on the inflorescence there. And stigma of this flower, wind pollinated flower, will be exposed. And the pollen grain, when it comes to the pollen grain, so the pollen grain is lightweight, it is light, and it is non-sticky. If it is sticky, what happens? It will attach to the somewhere, like without reaching, before reaching to the female flower, it will attach somewhere and it may lose. So it will be non-sticky in case of this. Pollen grain is light and it is light, lightweight and non-sticky. And stigma. So coming to the stigma, stigma is feathery. Feathery in the sense it will be like hair-like structures. It will be like feathery. The stigma will be feathery. So if it is feathery, it will be floating in the air. So when it is floating in the air, if the pollen grain is traveling in the air, the pollen grain will be caught easily. So it will catch easily. The stigma will be exposed and it is feathery, so that airborne pollen grains are trapped. So the airborne pollen grains will be trapped in this feathery hair-like structure, that is stigma exposed, it is there, no? So that is this. I will copy this. So it is feathery, and so that it can catch the pollen grains, airborne pollen grains. These are airborne pollen grains. Airborne pollen grains. And the stigma is feathery and it is stiffen. And the pollen grains are how it is, non-sticky and lightweight. And this wind pollinated flowers, majorly we will be seeing in monocot plants. Monocotyledon plants we will be seeing majorly. So this wind pollinated flowers are observed in monocots. Monocots it will be observed. So you can take example of grass. Example, grass. So these are the characteristic features of wind pollinated flower. So where you need to remember how the pollen grain is, how the stigma is, and how the where it will be taking place. And example, they have given one diagram also. That diagram is also important there. In the book, in the right side corner, they have given one diagram of wind pollinated flowers. So how the inflorescence will be, how the feathers will be. So that is very important diagram. Even they asked in the previous year there. And one more thing is you need to note here in wind pollinated plants, they have given example of maize plant there, tassels and ear, that is male reproductive structure and the female reproductive structure they have given. In the last year that ear was referred as some tassels there, so they removed that and they in new NCERT they have given as ear there. So those are wind pollinated plants. So now coming to this water pollinated plant. So this water pollinated plants are very less in number comparative to this wind pollinated plants. Water pollinated plants are less in number. So this water pollinated plants, how it will be and where it will be seen. So it is limited to the 30 genera. So wind pollinated, so water pollinated plants are limited to very less, and it is limited to 30 genera. Genera is nothing but genus. Only it is limited to this 30 genus groups of plants there. Limited to 30 genera, and it is observed, like if you see in the earlier case, in the go back to the plant kingdom there, algae, bryophytes, gymnosperms, pteridophytes, angiosperms is there. No? If you see the evolutionary line, the earlier plants like algae and bryophytes and pteridophytes, they were showing what? They were showing the water pollination, not pollination. It is actually requirement of water as a medium for fertilization there. You might have seen like algae, bryophyte and pteridophytes, they require water for fertilization or the fusion of that. So water will be the medium here in case of this. So in case of earlier plants like this, and limited to 30 genera, even that also, like they are monocots here, monocots here. Those 30 genera are most of them are monocots here. And coming to this water pollinated plants, example for this water pollinated plant are Vallisneria. Vallisneria is one example for water pollinated plant, or it is Zostera. It is freshwater plant is Vallisneria, and Zostera is a marine water plant, where it will be showing water pollination there in these two species. And one more important line is given there. Water hyacinth and water lily. These two plants are not water pollinated. See, remember this, even though they are starting with the name water lily, water hyacinth, both are not at all water pollinated plants. They asked in PYQ also. Most of them, they thought that it is water pollination means water hyacinth and water lily is present in water. So the pollination might be water. No. So there the medium of pollination, it will be taking place with the help of insects or the wind pollination it will be, but not with the water there. So in case of, so you need to remember that also, that is very important. So water hyacinth and water lily are not water pollinated, not examples of water pollination. So then how it will be taking place? I will come up with the picture tomorrow, then you can understand very easily. So remaining things we will discuss in tomorrow's class. So for today's further, it is enough. So there is a lot of things are there to discuss in water pollinated plants. So how the pollination will take place, in which group of the plants we will be seeing, what are the feature of water pollinated plants. So these are the feature of wind pollinated plants, no? In case of water pollinated, what are the features of that? We need to discuss that in the tomorrow's class. Till that, take care, bye bye, and solve some questions regarding this. And modules, there are some questions. You just solve that and get a clarity of this. If you didn't understand anything, you just go back to the lecture and watch that, repeat that, you will get to understand very easy. Okay. So till that, take care. We'll see you in tomorrow's class.